We just chill.
Dial 7 digits, call up Bridget, her man's a midget. Plus she got friends, yo, I can dig it.
Hello everybody, my name is Cassidy. Welcome to my channel. Normally on this channel I review movies. However, I just recently had a life-changing event to happen to me, and that is I accepted a job in Washington D.C. That's a big deal for me because I live in Louisiana. And like most of you, I went to YouTube to reference that type of move, what to expect, how much would I be paying, fuel costs, etc., etc. But I was a little disappointed because I didn't see a lot of videos that went deep into that information. So I'm going to do a slight deep dive into my trip from Louisiana to Washington, D.C. I'm going to explain how much fuel costs, how many times I had to fuel up, my mode of travel, what I used to actually move my stuff. And it was a pretty interesting story. So I won't be talking while the video is playing. I'm going to do a voiceover and compile a few videos. And please forgive the noise in the background. I moved to an area that is, I guess, considered the southwest part of DC, and I literally live across the street from the Nationals baseball stadium. As you can see behind me, those are some apartments across the street, but kind of further right there, that's the actual stadium, and I have a little footage with that as well. So if you hear any background noise, it's because there's something called the Light Pen or something like that. It's sponsored by Miller Lite, where they get together during game days for baseball, hockey, or just because the sun came up today, to play music, provide people food and drink. I think you pay like $80 for the entire experience. All you can eat, all you can drink, and then just kind of relax and chill with your friends, right? So if you hear any background noise, that's what that is. I did not want to make this video anytime later because I've had a lot going on moving into this city. So without further ado, let's get into the video. And lastly, before I start the video, one last thing. In the words of Taraji P. Henson, if you listen to people, you will not live. I'll get more into that later. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, let's talk about my journey from Louisiana to DC. That was a cake and some money that my employees got from me. That's pretty cool. Didn't have to, but I appreciate it. So something happened to a lot of my footage as I was compiling it. This is a video of me in South Carolina, but I went through a couple of other states before I got there, so I just really don't know what happened. Long story short, my dad was supposed to get a budget truck. He decided at the last minute not to get one, thinking we could fit my stuff on my truck and his. That was not the case. So it did not work out that way. Here's me, kind of tired and flustered, entering into South Carolina again. Eventually, we packed as much as we could into my truck, which is a 2020 GMC Sierra, and then the next day he had to go on to a budget truck. This was me making it into halfway of my trip. I decided to stop in Charlotte, North Carolina, and so that the next day I would only have 6 hours left to go. So this is downtown Charlotte. I was looking for a Hampton Inn, and I was glad I got the Hampton because they had the garage parking lot so that my truck and myself would be safe from the elements and people. This was me the next morning, 5:30, getting up, heading towards DC because it was going to be a 6-hour trip from there. So, like I said, my dad ended up having to scale back, going to get a budget truck to put the rest of my stuff on it. So, word of advice, if you are moving that far, go ahead and invest in the truck. I would not say invest in pods if you don't have to, because pods are $3,000 just starting off. This is me entering to the city of Washington. It was rainy and traffic started to come to a crawl because of multiple accidents. Again, me with the sleeping face / rest bitch face. It's crazy. Anyway, so yeah, this is the introduction to DC. It was a little ton of traffic again on a regular basis, but because there were so many accidents because of the rain. But yeah, so far so good. And then when I finally dipped into DC, I had to be mindful of the parking. So for my apartment, there was garage parking. This is me taking a picture of myself on a rooftop later that night. Again, my videos got mixed up. I don't know what the fuck happened. Alright, so this is me being country outside of DC. Just happy that I touched down and caused hell. I was right across from the National Stadium. I tried to get a good shot with my phone, but this is why I did not major in IT, because when it comes to technology, I know the bare minimum. People around me looking like, wow, she must be crazy, or either a country bumpkin, and it was both of the two. Anyway, that's it. Person that started this video yesterday, but it's a long story. It's the next day. So I'm going to hit on some points in the video probably rehashing something that I've already said, but I just want to just make sure that whoever didn't watch the entire video, because I know like me, when I get bored, I'm scrolling through. So the main things that I wanted to talk about was why I left Louisiana. Number one, I moved to Louisiana, bought a house in 2019. And my house, to say how much I paid for it, just absolutely adorable. 10 minutes away from the job at the time. And I felt like, since I'm from Hammond, which is a much smaller town, that Baton Rouge was city enough with enough couth outside of New Orleans, but at the same time was country enough for me to feel comfortable. And I was like, okay, good. So I had that set in my mind. It's my forever home. I'm going to meet my husband there, have my children. Boom, boom, boom. Didn't work like that. Ended up at a job that was dead end. Just horrible management. It just was really, really, really bad. But that's neither here or there. Okay. So, basically, I applied for a job in 2019. And at the time, it was like, hey, we're not going to give you the job. You're not qualified, whatever. We're going to keep your stuff on file. Most times companies say that. They don't really do that. They don't keep your stuff on file. So I was like, whatever. But then a month and a half ago, it was like, hey, remember us? We kept you on file, and we have this position that you'd be great for. As a matter of fact, you're a diamond in the rough, because what we need at this time, you are absolutely available. Hey, I applied for it. Within 4 days, I got it. And obviously located in D.C., the most money I've ever made in my life, an amazing salary. My debt to income ratio is about to be very small because my house is now on the market. And I've already got 2 buyers. They're like, hey, we want it. Had to make a couple of minor things to fix on the house, but I'm glad to get that off of me. And so with that, I'll be able to start the nest egg for myself, for my retirement. If I wanted to pay my truck off, I could, but I'm going to start the retirement and start getting into the market on the safe side, look at some blue chip options so I can get some money. All right. So a better opportunity for a job in my career, making more money than I've ever seen, and not having to supervise anybody at this job. I mean, I have to kind of like give supervisory, if that's a word, information to a couple of people that's on the lower tier of the position. But I'm not a micromanager, so it's just basically like, yo, I need you to do this. Please take care of that. We good? Straight? We can move on. Yeah, that part. And my love life was at a complete boom, crash, done still. So that's another big difference here in DC versus Louisiana. All right, so my truck that I use is a GMC Sierra 2020. And I had enough room to pack as much as my entire sofa set. Now, my dad told me initially, he was like, hey, we're going to get a budget or a U-Haul rental truck. Cool. He priced the budget for $900 one way. And we decided we were going to stick with that. Well, 2 weeks before the move, he comes to me and says, oh, I was thinking, I feel like between my truck and your truck, we could fit everything on it and just go to DC. And I'm going to rainproof it and everything. Like an idiot. I believe my daddy. Like an idiot. Until that night we had him packed up his truck, my truck, only for it not to work and for some of my stuff to get rain on it. He knew he messed up bad. So when we got to his house in Mississippi, they cut 2 hours off the trip. That next morning, we took my stuff off. He went to go get an actual budget truck that he should have gotten in the first place. And I took what I had inside the truck and I went on to DC because I needed to be at the apartment between 9 and 5 p.m. for Saturday so I can get my key, right? I'm driving. I cut through Atlanta, Georgia, cut through South Carolina. And when I got to North Carolina, that is when I stopped and I got some rest. I got back on the road 5:30 that morning and I was headed out. I was 6 hours away. By the time I got to the 6th hour, I got right there on the bridge that connects the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And of course, as luck would have it, traffic came to a crawl because it was raining and there was like a lot of major accidents. So anyway, long story short, got all that stuff together. My dad came the next day. We did all of that. So $900 for the budget truck. and I drove, my truck was GMC Tierra, so that took a lot of the stuff from the house. Also, I filled up 4 times going to DC, and I filled up for a total of $277. That was 3 fill-ups of $64 because I kept it at a quarter tank, and then that last fill-up of $85 because I wasn't paying attention and I had drove the truck down to this much fuel, which I do not recommend, because you could end up being behind, stuck in traffic behind an accident, and you're like 100 miles away from a gas station. So that was my bad. Okay, so split it in 2 days, and so far so good. And then a lot of people will say, oh, well, DC is expensive. Anywhere is expensive to anybody comparable to their cost of living, comparable to how much they make. Okay, for example, Houston is a great place to live for a person who's making 60,000 plus. You can live a lush life, you can have whatever you want, it's not expensive, you good. Okay, but to a person that makes $10 an hour in Houston, everything is expensive to them. And 9 times out of 10 for them to survive, they have to be on some type of government subsidy or some type of food stamp, something, some type of help from the government. Okay, so it's relative to your experience. Now, yes, DC is more expensive than Louisiana. Yes, you have to pretty much pay everywhere you park. But some of those situations are not always, right? So when I went to Target, it was an hour free. After an hour, you pay like $2. Okay, cool. Walmart, 2 hours free. After that, you got to pay. But if you write your list down and you have in your mind what you're going for, you get up in there and don't be BSing and buying stuff you don't need to buy and that didn't come there to buy, you're parking for free. All right. Traffic is like the traffic is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in the evenings. It's no different from that. It's not as bad as Atlanta. Absolutely not. But it's just like Baton Rouge during the rush hours. Okay. That's how that is. And, you do have to pay a lot to park. Like when I went and got my nails done, I went down another street to pay for parking because I didn't want to chance parking my truck on the side of the road, not for a ticket or anything, but because my car is fairly brand new. I trust me parking, but I don't trust nobody else parking. So I paid for a peace of mind, okay? And also to avoid any unnecessary tickets. So, the food is not more expensive than I thought. That's cool. I mean, to me, really, like I said, the expensive part comes with, your way of living, your cost of living, how much you make, and the type of things you want to do. If you're a person that want to eat out all the time and go out all the time, you're going to pay more money for parking and going to pay for food every day. Okay? But I love to cook. I'm going to go out every now and again just because I want to be cute in the city, But other than that, so far, me being here, I've already got my budget down and I'm good. And that is on top of me still paying the mortgage until somebody buys my house. But that's not going to be too much longer. So that'll be an extra grand out for me. I will say this. Now I want to talk about the dating thing, right? So one reason why I'm glad I moved from Louisiana is because my dating life just got really stagnant. I was on Bumble all the time, and I purchased the premium so that I could see them, they could see me, and we can do clear interactions. Well, I noticed being in Louisiana, I really wasn't getting any hits, and I knew that was for 2 reasons. Number one, I kept it real on my profile, and I made it clear, and they could look that, okay, this is not a person that, yeah, we might end up doing whatever, but I'm going to have to think around her. Yeah, you're going to have to think around me. Whereas I have a younger sister, she gets play all the time on Bumble because they don't see her as somebody who's going to challenge them to be much or do much. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm fucking with Shorty. That's what that is. And then her profile is, anyway. So what I noticed here in DC, I got Bumble, and within a matter of 30 minutes, okay, I had 50 plus beautiful black professional men waiting to be chose. Okay? Most of these men, ITs, executives, attorneys, chefs. And I'm not naive to think that everybody has the same intentions as myself. And I'm not naive in feeling like all of them don't play for the other team and they're bisexual and don't want to be honest about it. So I'm no fool.
But I do know this, the fact that I can see that I have choice versus me being in Baton Rouge. And a lot of people understand it, especially on the men's side. So it was like, I don't have to come. Look at all this. You're right. Now I'm in a place that says, look at all this. And I am ready for it. And it is ready for me. And the one thing I also noticed is the difference is when I was on Bumble, I would leave with one of the questions like, hey, what do you do for a living? And the person don't even want to respond. And now they gone. Whereas here, the men started off, what do you do for a living? And I thank you. Okay? So this is directed to the women in the South. You may feel like it's something wrong with you. You may feel like, damn, it's nothing to choose from. Here in the DMV is more to choose from because mostly here, the men want things and have things. Here, the ones you're going to find locked up in the jail are the petty thieves and the fools that can't think past go. That already chose a life that was, let me bring it back. Anyway, so I say that to say this. For the women in the South, if you get at some point in time, and it doesn't have to be DC, it can be Maryland, it can be Virginia, it can be anywhere. Understand that maybe your situation is because you are in the South. That's all I'm trying to say. That's what my situation was. I can already tell. Matter of fact, where I work, it is the majority of men who are doing extremely well. I could tell by the look on several faces it was an immediate welcome. It's okay. But the point I'm trying to make is the South was no longer a vibrational match for me. And that is the main reason why I left. And I feel like for a lot of you women in the South who are educated, have no children, or have one child, or hell, it doesn't really matter how many children you have, because if a man is feeling you're going to love you regardless. But if you are a woman that you feel like you are being stagnated in the South, you need to move around. I understand if you don't have family, I understand whatever. But if you are in a position to move around, especially a single black woman, I'm not talking to the single white women because your situation is totally different from ours. But then again, it's not up here in DC because I had so many men from all type of backgrounds, all races, all colors. And now this is a matter of 72 hours, okay? That's like, yo, how you doing? What do you do for a living? Man, please. So, I'm trying to tell you, because I promise you this one thing, getting it in is going to be getting it in. Safely, but I'm getting it in. So, that was my move from Louisiana to DC. I hope that it could help somebody. And so far, so good. Be mindful that it will be expensive wherever you move to, no matter where you move to, how it relates to your debt to income ratio and the salary that you're going to have. So do your research before you start applying to jobs. And if the jobs apply to you, which in my case it did, do your research before you head out and decide where you're going to stay. It took me a month to figure out where I was going to land when I got here. And I have no regrets. I have no regrets. And like I said, this dating life is going to be popping like Jiffy popcorn. So I am so excited about that because I am 41 years old and I'm in my sexual peak. And it's real. It is very real. Nobody lied to you. And they didn't make it up. And I promise you, I'm going to make sure I fill those prescriptions. Not from nothing resulting from sex. The prescription of this vagina. Because this pussy say, look, it's been a while. We down here hunching and ain't nothing moving. Please get somewhere and sign on it. Fill that prescription. Oh God. Anyway, I guess I'm just so happy. I am in a place where I never thought I was gonna be this happy ever in my life. Apparently I was depressed. But with me, what you see is what you get. So I hope this can help somebody. Oh yeah, if I didn't mention already, single. Okay. And I don't have no kids. Woo! so crazy. All right, I think that's all. I'll try to write some notes down, but my handwriting is so hard, I don't even, can't read my own shit. But I want to close this with my favorite quote from Taraji P. Henson. If you listen to people, you won't live. You will not. I promise you. People try to tell me, oh, don't be on no online dating. Well, online dating got me one of the best friendships that I had ever received, honestly. I mean, it was just, for what it was and why it lasted, it was awesome and amazing. And I appreciated it. So, don't sell yourself short either. I know I'm not, and I'm not settling. I promise you I'm not. All right. That's all enough of my rambling. Thank you for watching.